Dr. Ram Hilchos Brachos, Perek Yud, Halacha Aleph. Brachos Acheres, many other brachos, Dvarim She'in Behem Tzich Lechsima, brachos and other expressions of praise that don't have a specific beginning or ending of Baruch Atah Hashem. Tikar Chacham Derech Shech Vaydah, Hakadosh Baruch Hu the Chacham established as a way of praising and thanks to Hashem. The brachos Tefillah Shakvar Tikum, similar to the brachos of davening, which we already explained. Shekvar Kesavnu, we already explained and wrote them. So, for example, the brachos of Hanenin of food we know, the brachos of mitzvahs we know. Then there's a brachos of praise to Hashem and asking Hashem requests. So Shemoneh Esrei is a very classic example of that, but it's not the only one. You have other brachos like that. Shemoneh Esrei is not a bracha of mitzvah, it's not a bracha of Hanenin. It's a bracha of praise and bracha to Hashem. But there's other ones, for example. The person builds a new house or buys a new house. A person buys new kalim, new clothing, or new important utensils, as it's explained, for food. Whether or not he already has similar ones, this is thanking Hashem for the opportunity to experience this new thing. Any you buy a new car, you do the same thing. All right, based. It's not Allah Hashem, just saying. Similarly, first he's afraid after 30 years not seeing him. He also makes a bracha of Shechiyanu. If he sees him after 30 days, after 12 months, excuse me, because the person's forgotten if you don't see him for 12 months, as if he was no longer alive. Person sees a fruit, which is a new fruit that's renewed every year. Not like an esrog that's on the tree all year round, just changes because based on each fruit. But it's a fruit which has, like most fruits, are seasonal. At once a year, or some say even certain fruits are twice a year. But the point is, it's a new experience. We can also bracha of shechiyanu of experiencing new fruit. The minhag today is do only when you eat it, but when you see, you can take a shechiyanu of that. Now, some say today all fruits are available everywhere in the world, every day of the year, because you can bring fruits from anywhere. So you have say shechiyanu today. There's a question about it, but the minhag is say shechiyanu. Gimel. Shama Shmuel tell you a person who's good news. HaTeiv will explain that the bracha HaTeiv HaMeitiv is when Hashem is good to you and to others. When you experience the good with somebody else, the bracha HaTeiv HaMeitiv. If it's just for you, Shechiyanu. But here we're talking about a case where it's good news for you and for someone else. Not just for you. Shama Shmuel, a person hears bad news. Bless Hashem, the true judge. Person is obligated to make a bracha on the bad things, with good spirit, meaning with not happiness, obviously, but with enthusiasm, with acceptance. As it's a good thing with that joy. Now, it doesn't say when simcha by this b'tevas nefesh. The Rambam is not saying you b'chuyev to experience the same emotion when you lose $1 million and you gain $1 million. That's stupid. That's nonsense. It means that you b'chuyev to accept and appreciate that the truth of the matter, that the Eibusher is ultimately knows what he's doing in other scenario. So, love Hashem with all your heart, with all your life, and with all your might. This love Hashem with all your love of Hashem with all your might. Why the Rambam quotes is a good question. But what's the Abba b'chol meidecha? Loving Hashem with all your might. So that is the Abba Yisrael is just even at a time when Hashem, or when things are painful for the person, he acknowledges and he gives praise b'simcha. Here the Rambam adds b'simcha. Before I should discuss why before he didn't add it, but okay. So the point is to make the bracha with the same enthusiasm.
Okay. Also, by dynamics, it usually comes up, or the hesitancy. Dynamics usually comes up by somebody's death.
So the Rambam didn't mention death. He mentioned only.
I'm saying.
Good. Okay.
Yeah, but the hesitancy by a yid usually comes up by somebody's death.
Hesitancy.
You got to make dynamics.
So
you got to do b'simcha. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Even if a person lost $100,000, it's the same hesitancy.
But that's what I'm saying.
I'll look at that.
I'm not comparing money to
right.
life.
Okay. A person who got something good for him, or heard good news. Despite the fact this good thing might cause him negative thing in the future. Makes a bracha it's a goodness for somebody else. So if, for example, he finds a expensive item, so if in a time where the government would demand an item that if someone lost it, the government owns, the king owns the country, so anything that's lost, if he comes in, he's automatically. If you don't give it back to him, maybe you get in trouble. Right now, you found an expensive item, make the bracha teva meitiv. A person has a negative thing happen to him, he hears bad news. Despite the fact that he seems that this bad thing will cost him good in the future. Example in the Gemara he brings over here is when a person has a field that gets flooded and destroyed, but he realizes later on it's going to actually come back to be positive. The fact is right now it's negative. So even though later it's positive, the bracha, if he experiences obviously pain, negativity, bracha is dynamic. Yeah, a guy, if his factory burns down. Now he's upset. He knows ultimately after 5 years of litigation, the insurance will pay twice as much. Right now it's bad. He's upset. The bracha is only made, not made on the future brings. The bracha is made on what's present. The Rambam says, even if the pasuk didn't say this, a person with seichel knows something happened bad now. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Who knows this is a bad thing? Famous mashal. The guy whose kid breaks the leg, and because of that, he doesn't have to go to the war, and therefore all the people are killed. He survives. Whatever. The point is, don't be. We're all convinced this is so bad. Loud off. You don't know what tomorrow brings. Okay. Halacha hey. A person has multiple. Person, if it rains a lot, okay. A person has a sada, his own field. He does someone else's. Because again, we said that the bracha teva meitiv is when good things are shared. If it's just your field, now here's the question: I have a field, you have a field. It's not shared. But the rain is good for both of us. How come? I guess the word is if my simcha, my field is shared with you because you're a shut is my field, then I say teva meitiv. If you have a field next door to me, I don't say teva meitiv. I say shechianu, you say shechianu. Fine. The first thing we say this talks about a case where it rained after a drought. Not time to say it rained one day, a lot of rain. Okay. If I don't have a field, I live in an apartment. On the fifth floor, I don't have a field. We acknowledge Hashem, our God, for every single drop. That you caused to come down for us. If our mouth was full of praise like the ocean, and our tongue was full of song, like the roar its waves. Our lips was as wide as the expanse of had praise like the expanse of the heavens. And our eyes were shining like the sun and moon. And our hands were as spread out as the nishri shamayim, as the nesher of the heavens. What's a nesher? We always say it's an eagle. It's probably the griffin vulture. But whatever it is, this big bird with the big wingspan.
Huge wings.
Yeah. And our feet were as light as rams, or as deers rather. The kingdom would not be sufficient for us to thank you, Hashem, our God. To bless your name, Malkeinu, our King, for one of the hundreds of thousands of goodnesses, and one of the myriads, tens of hundreds of thousands of times, the goodness you did for us, the fathers, from the past. Yeah. You would redeem us from slavery. But Rav Zantanu, you sustain us in hunger. Zantanu are both to sustain us. Zantanu is more like feed. Kaltanu is more of the general needs people have: house, clothing, whatever. There's different expressions of sustaining. The from sword, you saved us. I mention this over here because if it doesn't rain, there's a drought. That's the biggest cause of war. When there's shortage of food, that's when people start fighting.
Yeah.
Right? That's when there are wars. The biggest cause of war is lack of resources.
Yeah.
But and you caused us to right. Atanu is also an expression of escape, right? You helped us escape. When you saved us, you kept us far from bad illnesses. Again, if there's no rain, that's when people are not nutrition is much more susceptible to getting sick. Until now, your mercies have helped us. And your kindness has not forsaken us. Why did Ram go to the whole nusach over here? If he says it, I believe in nusach tefillah, at the end of the sefer he goes to this exact nusach by nishmas. So I'm not sure why he says the whole thing over here, but okay. For the limbs you placed upon us, the soul and spirit, which you blew into our nostrils, and the tongue which you placed in our mouth. They will acknowledge, invoke, and bless your name, Hashem our God. Hashem, who is abundant in praise, meaning he deserves abundance of praise. Either in the praise should be abundant, or the people who do it should be a lot of people, whichever we want to learn today, over here, both ways. Hashem, who is of praise, praiseworthy. Vav.
This whole nusach is somebody that doesn't have a soda,
right?
And he saw tipping,
yeah,
and he goes says this whole
nusach. Yeah. So he doesn't say a bracha because but this is for thanking for the rain for the world. Yeah. Now, so the question is, a person who has a field shouldn't say this. Not with the bracha, you should say without a bracha. Okay, Vav. When you make a bracha, how much rain do you have to have? When the water is so much on the earth, on the surface of the earth, bubbles are forming from the excessive amount of water. Because you see a lot of rain, when it happens, in the puddles, you have bubbles of water, and they meet, and they touch each other. That's how, on the surface of the earth, when there's enough rain to do that, that's when you make these brachos. These brachos. Zion. The person says, if a person finds out that his father, any relative, passed away, and he inherited him. Like how much Yerusha has to be, I'm not sure what the amount is. But if he has brothers Yerusha, makes the bracha daina emes for the news of the passing. And after he makes the bracha for the goodness of the money he's going to. Even if a person would prefer to have his parent or his relative and not have the money, the fact is he's getting a mile with the money. So therefore, that's something that has to be thanked. Hashem has to be thanked for. So the way it came is not something a person's happy about, but it still has to be acknowledged. So therefore, it's brother.
And an inheritance.
Yeah. He has no brother, so he's only inheriting himself. And now again, how much Yerusha has to be? I don't know what the dollar amount is. Kids, boy, I guess enough you're happy.
But he says dynamics first.
Either way, he says dynamics first. Correct. Kids, here's the bottom line.
That's it.
Here's Ram finally tells us the thing I've been saying all the time. Anytime it's the goodness which you're sharing with others, the bracha is negative. If it's only for him alone, the bracha is shechianu. There are 4 people chayav to be thank Hashem. A special bracha will say how they thank Hashem. Now, there's many reasons to thank Hashem, but there's 4 times it's a chiyuv. A person who's ill who gets sick, or ill who's healed. Excuse me. A person who's in a jail who's freed. A person who goes on a sea voyage, comes out of the sea voyage, even if it's a river which a person could drown, like a large river. Also, people who are traveling and they reach a civilization after going through an uninhabited, uncivilized area. This is from the famous Kapitel Tum we say Kuf Zayin every of Shabbos in our Nusach. The order the Rambam brings the 4 people, this is the order over there in that Kapitel actually. The Rambam moves it around. These 4 people over there are mentioned not in this order, but this is the order the Rambam says. Fine. How your mother will see soon, but this acknowledgement, you thank Hashem for one of these four thankful things, for being saved from this. You have to do in front of 10 people, 10 adult Jews, like a minyan. You have to have 2 of them, or have to get them to Chamim. Shem says, if you should praise Hashem in the congregation of peoples. And so that's what means. It has to be Kahal Am, it has to be a minyan. Over Moshe, you came to Halu, and it also has to be Zikain in there. 2 times the Chamim. Therefore, that's how we know. The case of how do you thank Hashem? You stand among them, make the bracha Baruch Atah Hashem, who does kindness to those who are really liable. He does kindness to them. Who has done kindness to me. So thank Hashem for the fact that you didn't deserve it. Hashem saved you. He quotes the Sichel Rebbe over here, where he emphasizes the fact that you're saying that Hashem saved you, even though you didn't deserve it necessarily, just for Hashem's kindness. The people, whoever hears the bracha answers. The Rambam doesn't tell us, but the Chayyim of our Pasha, you answer Amen. And then you answer, he who did good for you should do good for you forever. Allah test.
But he doesn't mention that has to be by Sefer Torah.
No, that's just a minute. A person sees a place where a nest was done to Jewish, or the Jewish people as a whole. For example, Yamsuf, the Yidden crossed, Umabras Yard, in the place where the Yidden crossed the Yard with Yeshua. Apparently, there was a time when it was known exactly what the location was. I don't know if today we know. We thank Hashem who did miracles for our ancestors in this location. Anytime a nest was done for a large group, I don't know how many people said Rabin, 3, 10, whatever it is, you also make a bracha. If it happened in the past, Hashem made this ma'avasenu. Lav dafk if you're a descendant of them. But the point is, it's for the Yidden of the past, and the nest happened in these places. The place where nest happened to an individual. That Yachid, his son and his grandson. It's mashal dafka those 3 generations, because it says the pasuk says v'dayit levanecha v'levnei. So you, your kids, and your grandkids. So him. His kid, Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, let's say, yeah? So they have to make a bracha, and see that location, make a bracha, Baruch Atah Hashem Kol should also lead Nes Makom Azeh, who made a Nes for me in this place. If it's him. If it's his son or his grandson, he says, oh, you should also, Allah Avi Nes Makom Azeh, made for a Nes for my father. I guess Avi can also mean grandfather, that's why, he doesn't say Zikni, he just says Avi, okay. The person sees a lion's den. The Pashas Ram was afraid of the lion's den, where Daniel was thrown in. Now, again, various times for the mother, they knew exactly where it was. Others say, he wants to say to the Marshal, any lion's den. Funny enough. Whatever. But Kivish on the Aish and the fiery furnace, here everyone agrees it's not any fire furnace. After the fiery furnace into which Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah were thrown in. Hashem did a miracle for tzaddikim in this location. Again, you look very interesting in the Pasuk, exactly where and when we do all these things. Some of these are nuanced, different than the Rambam says it, but okay. Time is not going to allow us to go into all the details. A person sees a place to worship over the Zara. He makes a baruch Hashem who gives patience to those who transgress His will. Right, fathoming Hashem's ability to tolerate even those who deny Him. There's a place where Avodah Zarah was uprooted from it. If it's Eretz Yisrael, and I think we pass even outside the Chutz La'aretz. She's begun to Ramitzak in Eretz Yisrael. Who uprooted Avodah Zarah from our location. Yeah. Sorry, that's Eretz Yisrael. If the Chutz La'aretz, Hashem uprooted Avodah Zarah from this location. And both of them he says afterwards, as he was uprooted from this location, it should be uprooted from everywhere, and their heart should return to serve you, because it says in the pasuk, and all the Goyim are going to convert either to Yiddishkeit or to Shem Mitzvahs, and therefore we're davening that should happen very soon. Avodah Zarah will no longer exist. Yud. A person sees Jewish, yeah. A person sees Jewish homes in the settled state. He says over here it means not stam Jewish homes. It means dafka chashiv homes of either rich people or Gedel Yisrael. Who limits the boundary of the widow, meaning Hashem has limited the suffering of Klal Yisrael. That here you see Jewish homes that are the opposite of the Churban. Excuse me. The Chabbanan, if he sees Jewish homes destroyed, the Varach dynamis makes the bracha dynamis. He says if the minig is to only make the bracha on these homes if you see the shul that daven in. Okay. If yourself person sees Jewish graves, Mavarach make the bracha barachata Hashem k'nochelom. Mashiach says Chem Badin who created you in judgment. Bezalel Chem Badin sustained you in judgment. Hilchos Chem Badin sustained you not just food but other things in judgment. Hemes Chem Badin caused you to pass away in judgment. V'alas lahakem es Chem l'chayim haba is going to the future, arise you to the life of the world to come, which according to Rambam could Adam Gan Eden or El Haba, Pasuk Gan Eden, not sure. Baruch Atah Hashem l'chayim es, bless Hashem who revives the dead. And the Pasuk will explain why it's dafka the bracha of this din is the emphasis over here. Okay. This is done by every single time you see a Jewish cemetery. If it's been 30 days since the last time you saw a cemetery, right? Not just by the oil. Not the oil, he said. Not just by the oil. I'm saying people, you see a Jewish cemetery, right? You're touring somewhere. I was in Tunisia, yeah. You went to the Besa Cross over there. A person sees 600,000 humans at once. Right, the million man march in Washington, yeah? Im goyim heim, if they're non-Jews, and down means they're non-Jews who worship over the Zara. He says, your mother is very disgraced. Those who give birth to you are shamed. And the pasuk continues, etc. I don't know what the rest of the pasuk is, but yeah, fine. Bin Yisrael heim, if the Jews, Eretz Yisrael, Baruch Atah Hashem, Chacham Harazim. The wise one of the secrets to have 600,000 people. You have 600,000 Yidden. You have all possible personalities and ways of thinking in one place. That's make this bracha.
But it's two conditions.
The Ram doesn't make any conditions.
Yes, he does. He says it's Yidden and it's in Eretz Yisrael.
Oh, thank you. Right, correct. Yeah, we don't.
That means that 600,000 in America doesn't qualify.
Right. So the Alliance said Shulchan Aruch, you make it everywhere in the world. But thank you for that. Yeah. But the Ram is definitely Eretz Yisrael. But Harei Chacham Umas Elam, person says Chacham of Umas Elam. You could also, I'm just wondering, 1 second. So, fine. Yeah, you see the world's greatest scientist. Okay, so, who gave for his wisdom to flesh and blood. Chacham Yisrael, he sees Chacham of Jewish people, meaning Chacham of the Torah. Argues Shecholak, to Hashem who apportioned or gave from his wisdom to those who fear. If you're going to tell you fear Hashem, obviously. Now, a Yid who is a very simple Yid in Torah, but he's a brilliant Chacham in Chacham Tzenius. Can you make the bracha that you would make it at least if you saw a goy? I'm not sure. Okay. Malchi Umasailam, if he sees non-Jewish kings, makes the bracha barachata.
So if you saw Einstein, for example, you wouldn't make the bracha.
I don't know. Why can't you make? If you see for a goy, you can say the bracha. For him, at least you can also say. You can't say.
But if a yid,
I don't know.
It diminishes, no.
So you're saying it's a shanda that it's a yid chacham, but not in Torah. I don't know. Maybe. Shanasan ikvayde lebasav adam, who has given his wisdom to flesh and blood. Malchi Yisrael mavarach shanasan mechakved l'reyav. If the Chamim of the Jewish people make the Jewish king, the bracha is who is given from his honor to those who fear him. On the Hanukkah Live, we see when Mordechai Yahu let him in there by the Kaisel, you hear someone in the back shouting this bracha, right? Okay, you base. In the hands of the Rambam, today people fly over the world. You can be today in Australia, tomorrow in London, and back and forth. Hands of the Rambam, if you lived in where Yidden lived, to see a black person was very, very rare. Even I heard many times, many Yidden, the first time I saw a black person was when the Allied liberated the concentration camps, and they made the bracha because they never saw a black person in their lives. So for us, it's very common, obviously. But for someone who lives in times of the Rambam, even in Mitzrayim in North Africa, how the black tribes in the south of Africa you wouldn't see them. I don't think in Egypt. They almost didn't exist. They weren't allowed there. Whatever. It was a very rare thing. If I raised a Christian person, she's a black person with very dark skin. Or the Arabs.
Sure.
Yeah, maybe not. This is the Gemara. Kapanim, that's a mashunin betzuas pnei, a person who's very unusual shaped face. Oibavim, more unusual in the limbs. Baruch the Baruch is Baruch Atah Hashem from the Chelam, Meshana Briyesh, who makes unusual creations. You don't assume a person is a blind. Right, you need a person who looks, deformed. Hey, wait, stop. Lagarto. Oh, that's not exactly the.
I think you're only ready to see it the first time. It's not every day.
Yes, correct. Sa'azoi state in the he says he quotes over here. Only the first time in your life, being through Shulchan Aruch. That's correct. Rama says every 30 days. Oh, in Birch Hanan, the Alter Rebbe passes like the Rav Chaber that it's after the first time in your life. Pam Rishon, which I guess means the first time in your life. Okay. So you see a blind person, they keep that person who's nappy, a person who is, he has skin disease, leprosy. Vakinin is very, a person who's spotty, has unusual spots on his body. Kibbutz, all these different types of blemishes. Daina Emes, the judge of truth, for the unfortunate feeling of these people. If they're born that way, he was born without an arm, let's say, maybe from their mother's womb, he was created unusual creatures. A person is an elephant, and a monkey, which is some kind of bird. I'm not sure exactly what kind of bird it is. Baruch Hashem who creates unusual creatures. Monkeys are unique among the animal kingdom because they're very different. They look like people almost. It's a whole different. And elephants also very unique, look very different. The whole long trunk, it's its own category. Now the Chachmei HaGemara didn't know about kangaroos or koala bears.
Kangaroos, no.
Would they have made? Because they're also very unusual, and it's like okay, whatever. This is where it says to make the bracha we make. Yud Gimel. Haraya B'riyeish Tevis. A person who sees very unusually, wonderfully created. The dog that won the donkey, the state championship, right? A perfect dog, exactly everything perfect. The truth is actually, it says over here, it documents people, right? You see, a bodybuilder, right? A person who's like the perfect form of a person. With the Kardas B'yeser, and people are very, very perfect in their form. Bilanas Tevis and perfect trees. Bilanas Tevis, cane and perfect trees. I'm not sure what the word cane is doing over there. He makes a bracha, Baruch Atah Hashem l'chelam shekachal le'belamei, that's appropriate for Hashem to make things in this world. It's only the Eivish that can make things so perfect. A person goes out into the field and the gardens in Nisan. The truth is that people say that means any month of the year. It's just common in Nisan. You see trees and fruit, after fruit trees that are sprouting. The word there, but he says over here, and it means that the fruits are budding, so it's the little bud, but dafka bud can produce fruit eventually. That's not a bud of a leaf. So that's what that means, after fruit trees. Oilam, they're going to come out of the tree. He lacks something in his world. He created good creations, noise that are nice. People should have enough of them. As Rebbe explains, that it's the bracha of Hashem created not just essentials. Fruit is just a delicacy. You don't need food to survive. To survive, you have to have bread and protein. But fruit is like an extra treat.
Basically, you're going to make two brachas because later when the pears come out, he said you make
correct.
Yeah.
This bracha is on the tree. That bracha is on the fruit. Yeah, correct, exactly. The truth is, this bracha dafka only in this, and it's discussed. It's not so simple. It could be also any time of prayer. You doubt. On the winds that blow with fury. We call this hurricanes. Yeah, tornadoes. And on thunder. And on. Brakin is lightning. I apologize. And on thunder. And on the sound of commotion that's heard on the earth, like a large mill. This is called an earthquake. And on the mist in the sky. Looks like falling stars, going from place to place. I believe we're talking about comets or new, like there's things that basically a comet. Like stars that look like have a tail behind them, called the shooting stars. Shooting stars, yeah, right, yeah. Is might fills the earth because you see or hear these things from far away. If you want to make a bracha, create works of creation. Sorry, Oisha Bereshis. We don't. That doesn't say Ma'aseh. That's our nusach. So you can say whichever bracha you want. What did I? Yeah, thank you. Exactly right. The poyo. That's you can do whichever one you want. So fine. The minig is when it comes to thunder and lightning. That you could say that, not to say you could say the same bracha twice, but ben Hashem 2 times differently. And why this way? Because shekoich gvase is more so appropriate to thunder because it's a scary noise.
When somebody sneezes, like you're shaking everybody else.
Exactly. Why do people say that you have to first hear the thunder, otherwise you can't make bracha on lightning? It's tamashtos. The truth is because there's an Aruch HaShulchan, I asked the Rav about this recently, that says you can't make a bracha on lightning because if it's no thunder, maybe it's a lightning which is like heat lightning, which is from the moisture in the atmosphere. The pile we know today is no such thing. But it means that you see lightning in Miami sometimes there's no clouds.
There's sheet lightning.
It's because there's a storm far away. That's why. Okay, Akitzer, you can make a bracha on thunder without lightning without thunder. If you're inside, you can't see the lightning, no problem. If you see the lightning, but you can't hear it because you have AirPods in your ears, you can also make a bracha, no problem. Tesvav. Alahadim on the hills, Valgavoyes on the mountains, different types of hills and mountains. On the borders and on the wilderness, on Yam and on the oceans, on the bodies of water, on the hardest, on the rivers. If you see one of them and you haven't seen in 30 days, again, work of creation. This is the same thing. I made this bracha when I saw the volcanoes in Guatemala. It's also a work of creation, right? Yeah. Or the northern lights in Alaska. You saw also. You see, it looks like a. The northern lights look like a. It's like I can't describe
like
it.
A spectrum of colors.
Yeah. So Harayas al Yama. So this is fine. This is the bracha of Esav Bereshis. And any real like you see Niagara Falls, any of these things which are like things remind you about Hashem's majesty of creation. You don't say the bracha of Shekoich and Malay because we'll see this. It means a large, significant one, which inspires you about the nature of it. Now, Harayis Yam HaGadol is the one exception, especially Yam HaGadol. Which Yam is that? Some say that means the Mediterranean. Some say it means the ocean, the Atlantic, or the Pacific. I don't know. The Pacific existed. Whatever.
The Eretz Yisrael only has shaykhs to the Mediterranean Sea.
Yeah, it's a show, but okay.
They don't have shaykhs to the Atlantic or Pacific.
Who says no? It's a show over here, but okay, fine. So you see every 30 days. If you haven't seen it 30 days, Baruch Ata Shem Mechelam Oises Yam HaGadol made Yam HaGadol. So that ocean, whether it's the Mediterranean or the Pacific or the Atlantic, has that bracha. All the other oceans, right? You see the Black Sea in Ukraine, you make the bracha, the regular bracha Esav Bereshis. You don't say Shekoich Malam because it's koyach is not through the world. You don't hear or see it unless you're there. Not like a thunder or a shooting star. A person sees a rainbow in the clouds as opposed to the rainbow that you see because you sprint through water in the air. Remembers his covenant with Mayach, not that they're going to be a flood. Then he's faithful to fulfill his covenant, and he fulfills his word. The Mepharshim explain about Brisha and Mamorei. Hashem said that he promised afterwards, so thank Hashem for both. In the Hayim that says that we say this bracha, why does the Rebbe have to make a point? Because the city of the Altar didn't bring it. Why the Altar didn't bring it, I don't know, but the Rebbe says that it's somewhere that maybe because Russia wasn't common. So I had a chance to research this. I was trying to think, is it Shaykh in Russia in the Altar's lifetime? The rainbows were less common than America, and I wasn't able to find such a thing. But that's just as far. Upon him, we do say the bracha. That's the bracha. Haraya Lavana Bechidusha person sees the moon when it is renewed, right after the moon disappears and it reappears again. How are we doing? Which column are you in this one over here? Okay, so let's keep moving. A person sees the moon that's renewed. Yeah. So you see the new moon after it reappears, it can be a tiny sliver. Hashem with His word created the heavens, the Rikia, the Shakim, and then breath of His mouth called Tzavam, all their hosts, the Malachim, and the other planets. He established a time and a law with them. They shouldn't change their purpose, their path. They should be on schedule. The moon doesn't have moods. This mood, it goes consistently. So they're joyous and happy. Last to come to do their will of their maker. Faithful workers, that work faithfully, consistently. Right? Hashem said to the moon, she should renew itself every month. The is to be a crown of glory, a good sign. To those who are born of the womb. Who are those who are born? B-O-U-R-N-E, carried from the womb. Kal Yisrael, Hashem carries us from the womb, like it says in the pasuk. I'm Muslim Betin from Yishai, right? We're saying that Shine is also a lashon, I think, right? Shine is a lashon, Hashem carries us from the womb. So the moon is a crown for the Yidden Dafka because the Yidden are going to ultimately be renewed as the moon is from their gullus, right? The Father of the to praise, to glorify their Creator, for the majesty of His kingship. Baruch Ata Hashem blessed Hashem who renews the renewable, renews the months, I guess. Yeah. Okay. Yud Zayin. Tzach levarach baruch hazu when this bracha has to be made standing. Ad kind because you sit down and stand or whatever. Actually, Hagoyim we said standing also. Sorry. This one dafka standing. You should call him Mavarach Hasal Chodesh Mizman. Whoever makes a bracha on the new month in its time, in the proper time. Keep a penishina. It says is if you greet the shechina for reasons the Mepharshim explain. What if the new moon appeared and you didn't make the bracha? Now it's the second night. You can make the bracha until this night of the 16th. Till its blemish is filled. At that point, it's a full moon. There's nothing lacking. You can't make a bracha. It's not new anymore. Finish. The Mepharshim say exactly when, how long you have. It's not mamish tazayin, half of the month, whatever it is. Okay, Yudches. A person who sees the sun on the day of the Tekuf of Nisan, right? You know there's 4 Tekufas in the year, 4 seasons, each one a quarter of the year, 91 days approximately. So Tekuf is when the sun enters the path of the star of Tela of the sheep. We'll learn about this in the Kiddush HaChedesh. We'll tackle this with all the pratim. I'm ready to make it start to get nervous now. Yeah, so on that 28th of its rotation, which is with the beginning on the of of the Tkufa. The Chil Sovi on the beginning of Wednesday after that Tkufa, once it enters that Tkufa, when that first Wednesday comes, you see it on the Wednesday in the morning, this is basically because when the moon, according this is going for this Indian we pass like the Shita, the world is created in Nisan, not in Tishrei. And when the moon goes back to this location, the sun, it's exactly where it was when the Eibishter created it, based on where it is in relation to the stars. Now, that's based on how we pass on the moon being number one, the earth being created in Nisan. Number 2, based on the calculations of the Gemara that points that opinion, which the Rambam himself doesn't agree with. But that's what we pass over here. Benegay this opinion. Rebbe has a long speech about this. I think that when the Rebbe said this, nobody was talking about. I'm not sure people even to read it today is hard. You have to understand a lot of Kiddush HaChedesh. So I don't claim to understand it at all. These ones that it says in the Pasuk we don't do for some reason. We do. Remember we didn't Samach Tes, we'll do it again Shem Tzadik Zayin. And Mashiach should be ready, right? But these ones we don't do for some reason. Similarly, the Gemara puts it together. But when the moon goes back to its original location, the beginning of the mazel of a sheep. With the beginning of the month, it's not going north or south. Also, the other 5 stars in the sky, right? Which according to the Rambam are Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Venus, and Mercury. The other planets that I didn't know about because
they call them stars.
They didn't know they exist because you can't see them with the naked eye, right? Yeah. It's a telescope. So Uranus and Pluto, the Rambam didn't know about, right? No. And Saturn. Whatever. Upon him, when they go back to Tchilas,
Saturn they knew about. Shabtai they knew
about.
Saturn,
yeah. So
Jupiter they knew about too.
Yeah, right.
That's the exterior plane.
Exactly. Neptune, thank you. Tchilas Mazel Tola, when it gets to the beginning of that Mazel Tola, Mazel not going north or south. Again, this same bracha. For some reason, they only make the bracha on the sun. They don't make the bracha on the other heavenly bodies, and they go back to the original position. But the Gemara says anyone that goes back to its position when it was, and Ram doesn't tell you exactly how to calculate that. But whatever. When it goes back to how it was, based on when the world was created, make this bracha again. This is puzzle down means whenever you see the Mazel Tola, the star constellation of Tola, rising from the east, all these scenarios you make a bracha. The Mepharshim asked this every night. You see the rotation of the Mazel Tola. When the sun sets, you see it somewhere in the sky at least. So what does that mean? The Mepharshim have a hard time with this. You test. But the Yeshua person sees houses of non-Jews, he means idolaters, in the settled state. He says, base game, Yisach Hashem, the house of the hardy Hashem should, Yisach I guess means like to uproot or destroy. The Chabban, if they're destroyed, he says, Hashem is the God of retribution. That's the capital we say every Wednesday in the Yom. It's Hashem punishing of a desire, revenge, yeah. The person sees a non-Jewish cemetery. He says, your mother's very disgraced. The same person we said earlier. Goes to a bathhouse. I'm not sure. Hanichas goes to the bathhouse. Back then, the bathhouse was dangerous because it had fire under it, and if someone would suddenly fan the fire while you're in the bath, you might become cooked chicken, or you could faint, whatever, or a person sometimes would collapse to the bottom. He says, I should go inside in peace. I should leave in peace. Save me from this in similar scenarios in the future. When he leaves the bathhouse, he says, I thank you, Hashem, you saved me from the fire. Chafalef. And nichas the yakas person goes to bloodlet or any refuah possibly. He says Yosef Fenecha Hashem Lekai Jiya Esik Zel refuah. This task should be for healing. You are a free doctor, free healer. Shiatza Imri when he leaves he says Baruch Echel bless Hashem who heals the sick. Top base. When a person goes to measure his silo of wheat, grain. He says Yosef Fenecha Hashem Lekai Shtilcha Baruch Masiyad. You should send success to my hands. His let me start measuring. He says Baruch Hashem Baruch he sends success to this silo. If you measure it and afterwards ask him for mercy, once he knows the exact number of wheat, it's tefillah of vanity because you already have the amount. And now it takes a nest to change it. Before it didn't require a nest. A person who makes a tefillah for the past, it is a tefillah of vanity. Chaf Gimel. And nichlas the base hamedrash, and a person goes to learn. He says, "Yasuf v'nach Hashem lekai shli gashul v'alach." I should not stumble in the matter of halacha. Shli emal Torah my Torah. I should not say on that tummy that's Torah. Bal Torah I shouldn't say on Torah it's tummy. Don't be too machmir either. Bal mutu aser that's muta I shouldn't say it's aser. Bal aser muta I shouldn't say it's aser muta. Bal gashul v'alach I should not stumble in the matter of halacha. V'yisuf v'chaveira my friend should be happy with me. Like koshul chaveira v'alach my friend should not stumble in the matter of halacha. The esmach I should be happy with them. Avdal v'yatzim is hamedrash. A person who's based she says meidel v'nach Hashem lekai. It's just something chalkim b'beis v'es hamedrash. We know this from the scene, right? Hashem placed my portion, those who sit in the base medrash. He did not place my portion, those who sit in the street corners. Shani mashkim, him mashkim, we both get up early. Ani mashkim, I get up early, him mashkim, they get up early for nonsense. Ani amal him, we work hard, they work hard. Ani amal about kaval sachar, I work hard and I get reward. Him kaval sachar, they get reward without reward. Ani what's fame runs, I run and they're running. Ani what's chalaba, I run to the world to come. To chalaba, the him what's the shachas, they run to the pits. And this is the last halacha. Second last. And if the person goes to a city, he says, I should enter this city with peace. If he enters in peace, he says, Hashem who let me come in peace. When he wants to leave, he says, I should be taken out of the city in peace. He also leaves in peace, he says, who take me out of the city in peace. Shame should just say, just to took me out of the city in peace, came to the you should take me, guard me in peace, and I should be sustain me in peace.
One more.
I should be sustained in peace. And save me from all the ambushes on the way. Here's the bottom line. Let me tackle also the person down for the future. Ask mercy, and thank for the past. And thank Hashem according to his abilities. Whoever thanks Hashem more, he's praiseworthy.
Yeah, that was a job well done.
Your wife said supper's not ready yet. It's okay.